Sometimes you have a guy trying to rob a store with a t-shirt wrapped around his head and a palm tree in his hand. That's a real thing, you should look it up. But not everyone is going to start their life of crime in such a ridiculous fashion. Sometimes the smartest people in the world will use their massive intellect to try and take from the world what they need, no matter what the cost. Hello, Most Amazing Top 10 family, I am your host, Chade Arena, and welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10. For today's list, we are going to be taking a look at felons who are on par with the Joker or Norman Osborn, with this list of top 10 real criminal masterminds that belong in comics. If any of you at home want some more Most Amazing Top 10 content, you should check us out on Instagram and Facebook, because there is a ton of additional content over there for you guys. And make sure you stick around until the end of this list, because I'm going to be doing some more pet shoutouts for you guys, which you guys love so much. Remember, if you want me to shout out your pet, you can hit me up on Instagram. And without taking any longer, let's get into this list. Coming in at number 10, we have Leonardo Notarbortolo. The thing about a good crime is it takes a lot of planning. In 2003, one of the biggest diamond heists of all time went down. Over $100 million in jewelry and diamonds were taken. It was thought to all be pulled off by Leonardo Notarbortolo. This guy had moved in above the Antwerp Diamond Center in Belgium 2 years before the crime took place. He was posing as a diamond merchant, and with the purchase of the apartment came access to the diamond vault via key card. He schmoozed the people working there for 2 years, learning all the ins and outs of the vault. When he and his cohorts pulled off this heist, they knew all of the places that they were supposed to look and steal from, and they were able to take all of the footage from the crime because they knew exactly where the security cameras were. So how do we know this was Leonardo? And if he was able to pull off such an amazing heist, why isn't he higher on this list? Well, because he made one crucial error. Leonardo was eating a sandwich while he was performing the heist, and he left it behind. The cops used the DNA from the delicious snack to pin the crime on him, but he never ratted out his cohorts. Coming in at number 9, we have Frank William Abagnale Jr. If you haven't seen the movie Catch Me If You Can, you should absolutely go check it out, because it's great and it highlights one of the greatest con men of all time. Frankie Boy started his conning career when he was young. He was committing fraud using his dad's credit cards. I couldn't imagine what would happen to me if my parents found out I was committing fraud with their credit cards. I probably wouldn't be here to do this video, that's for sure. Well, that was just him getting a taste for the life. Frankie went on to start committing fraud and even moved into impersonating high-class people like pilots, teachers, and doctors. He was a mastermind at committing fraud, and some of his plans were as simple as leaving a note on a cash deposit box telling people that the box was no longer functioning and that they had to leave all of their money with a security guard that was him. So simple it has to work. Well, not everything goes as planned, and eventually he was caught. But get this, he was let out early because he started helping the FBI locate people who were committing fraud. He decided to use his powers for good in the end. Coming in at number 8, we have the Vacuum Gang. You know, you don't have to be working with a giant network of people or be rolling out huge blueprints like you're in the Italian Job to be a mastermind criminal. Sometimes you just need to find the simplest way to make a lot of money, and then you're off to the races. The Vacuum Gang reminds me of a bunch of henchmen who got away with some Stark tech and started using it to make some big money. The Vacuum Gang has been roaming around France for years. They found out that a certain chain of grocery stores has been using a type of safe that could easily be drilled into. What they were able to do is drill a hole through the safe and hook up a high-powered vacuum to the safe and then just start sucking. They would clear out a ton of money and then just bounce, all without having to open anything up. That seems like a pretty good plan. I'm into something that's extremely simple and effective. Coming in at number 7, we have Bert Smalls, probably my favorite type of criminal mastermind, a bank robber. It just seems like it would be such a fun job. You don't really have to hurt anyone, you only steal from massive corporations, and then you move on with your life. Bertie was famous for over 2 decades, completing bank heist after bank heist. He was all over the UK and at one point set the record for the largest heist ever accomplished by walking away with £238,000. Not too shabby if you ask me. This built up a very bad reputation with the police, and then came the day when one of his own men ratted him out and he was going to go away for life, but he pulled a fast one on everyone. He had records of all the people he had done business with in the English crime world, and he sold them all out for immunity. Coming in at number 6, we have the European Jewel Thieves. This was one of the biggest heists in history. For this story, we are going to have to travel back to the year 2009 and head over to one of the largest department stores in Europe. A few thieves had the bright idea to rob a jewelry store in one of these massive department stores, and this plan was pretty rock solid. They would come down from the ceiling using a rope ladder to ensure that none of the alarms would go off, which worked perfectly. They had devices devices to cut into the glass, which would continue their stealthy approach to stealing millions of dollars worth of expensive jewelry, and then they took off with $5 million worth of diamonds. But they made one massive mistake. One of the people involved in the heist left a glove behind. The DNA in the glove was traced back to two people, a set of twins, and here's where things get very interesting. They couldn't pin the crime on either of them because the DNA was too similar, so they couldn't figure out which one of them committed the crime. Haha. Coming in at number 5, we have the Credit Lyonnais burglars. When's the best time to try and rob a bank? Well, apparently when they are down for renovations. A group of thieves waited until the Credit Lyonnais bank in France was closed down for repairs, and then they went in for the kill. The whole operation was simple but extremely effective. They would tunnel in from beneath the bank, just like in the Looney Tunes. Then they tied up, gagged, and blindfolded a guard, which was the only one, and finally they stole millions of dollars worth of goods out of safety deposit boxes. And to cap it off, just in case you thought there was any chance of them leaving something behind, they set the building on fire to destroy any of the evidence. In the end, they were never caught. Coming in at number 4, we have Ted Kaczynski, aka the Unabomber. This guy sounds like every supervillain mastermind. Ted was a genius child. He was a mathematician who sailed past all of the other students around him. He was accepted into Berkeley, and it seemed like he would be someone who would shape the world in a wonderful way. But it turns out that he would shape the world in a whole other way that wasn't so beautiful. Ted Kaczynski got fed up with modern life, and he was convinced that the collapse of society was around the corner. He wanted to send a message out to the world, and he did this through bombs disguised as packages that he would send out to people throughout America. Eventually, the Washington Post published one of his manifestos in an attempt to stop him from bombing an airline, and through this, his brother was able to identify his handwriting style and fill in the police on his location. Coming in at number 3, we have Dan Cooper. This next one is going to sound like it was pulled right out of Mission Impossible. So Dan Cooper set out to pull off one of the greatest heists in history. Dan Cooper got onto a plane and then sat down in a seat and just waited for the flight attendant to come over to him. While he was waiting, he pulled out a handwritten note out of his bag, and when the attendant arrived, he handed her the note. She took a seat beside him because the note was an invitation to sit next to him, and if she denied, he would blow up the plane with the bomb that he had in his bag. He told the attendant what was about to happen. She was going to tell the captain to call ahead and have 4 parachutes and $200,000 in unmarked bills, and this was in the 1970s, so that was good money. If this didn't happen, he would blow up the plane. She got up and she went right to the cockpit, and sure enough, when they landed, all of those things were there along with a ton of cops waiting for him. He got the goods, and then he told the pilot to take off again and head for Mexico. While flying over the Portland Mountains, he took one of the parachutes and the cash and then jumped out of the plane. He was never found. Coming in at number 2, we have the Pink Panthers. Let's stray away from a single mastermind running a crew and get into a massive network of criminals said to have stolen over $5 million in goods. They have agents all over the world. There's said to be some stationed in America. There have been major thefts that took place in Europe and Australia that have been linked back to the Pink Panthers, and they even show signs of activity in Asia. They started off by doing jewelry heists. They were famous for driving a series of cars into a jewelry store and taking off with millions of dollars worth of goods. But since then, they have started to up the ante, going after some bigger fish. They managed to steal $160 million worth of art from the Zurich Museum. All of these operations were pulled off by people with connections to Serbia and Bosnia, and it's thought that their headquarters could be located somewhere in that area. And coming in at the number 1 spot, we have the Gardner Museum art thieves. We can't even put a name to these guys because they were never caught, and that is why they have climbed so high on this list. The year was 1990, and the museum had closed for the night. There should have been no visitors, but 2 police showed up with a warrant to check the premises. Turns out these weren't cops at all, but they were just 2 dudes in disguises, and they managed to use these disguises to call all of the security into one place. Then they pulled their guns on them, tied them up, and went off to steal $300 million worth of paintings and just walk out of the place and were never seen again. My God. Alright everyone, that has been our list, and as promised, I'm going to be doing some more pet shoutouts. Remember, if you want me to shout out your pet, you can hit me up on Instagram. I pick new pets each day, so if you don't get picked one day, you can message back another day. I usually pick who is messaged last. If it takes me a little while to get back to you, I'm very sorry. I have a lot of these to do, and without taking any longer, let's get into this list. First up, we have Callie, who is doing a big sit. She is a very good shaggy girl. Then we have Buddy, who is rocking that filter. After that, we have Bear, who is chilling so hard with that cool hat. Next, we have Maisie in her close-up high-def picture. And to close it out, we have a big smile coming from Summer. I love it. All right, everyone, that has been our list. Thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, I would love it if you could like, comment, subscribe, and hit the little notification bell. Until next time, I've been your host, Jade Arena, and watch out for crazy thieves, because they're out there. Bye.